Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into a crucial aspect of mental health practice, the ethical foundations and decision-making processes that guide our work. We'll explore important codes, principles, and professional responsibilities that help ensure effective and respectful counseling. I'm excited to share insights that will strengthen our understanding and application of ethics in mental health. Let's get started. Our goal today is to help you recognize the common themes that appear across professional codes of ethics. By identifying these themes, you'll better understand how they serve as a foundation for ethical behavior in mental health professions. These themes aren't just abstract ideas, they actively guide daily decision-making and help maintain high professional standards while protecting client welfare. It's also crucial to be thoroughly familiar with your own profession's ethics code because this knowledge ensures that you practice responsibly and competently at all times. When we look at codes of ethics, it's important to recognize that they serve as broad guidelines rather than detailed rulebooks. They set general principles to steer behavior, but don't provide exact answers for every unique situation we might face. Because of this, they often leave room for interpretation, and that means different organizations might have variations in their codes. This variability underscores that codes of ethics cannot replace our own professional judgment and ethical reasoning, those remain essential. Another point to consider is that these codes tend to evolve slowly, so sometimes they might not keep pace with the latest ethical challenges we encounter in our fields. Understanding these limitations helps us use codes of ethics thoughtfully and responsibly. When we look at the primary objectives of codes of ethics, there are three key goals they fulfill. First, they protect clients and ensure their welfare. This means they set minimum standards of care that professionals must meet, so clients receive safe and respectful treatment. Second, codes of ethics provide a professional standard and framework. This is crucial because it offers clear guidance for ethical behavior, helping professionals navigate a wide range of situations with consistency. Lastly, they assist in resolving ethical dilemmas. Instead of leaving professionals to guess what's right, these codes offer a structured approach to make responsible decisions, maintaining integrity and trust in the profession. Together, these objectives create a foundation for ethical practice that benefits both clients and professionals. When we talk about the difference between law and ethics, it's important to understand what each represents. Law refers to formal rules set by governments that come with clear legal consequences if they're broken. These laws establish the minimum standards of behavior that everyone must follow. On the other hand, ethics are about moral principles that guide what is right and wrong, often developed and upheld within specific professions. Ethics aim for higher ideals beyond just the minimum requirements of the law. It's crucial to realize that just because something is legal doesn't automatically mean it's ethical, and vice versa. As professionals, we have a responsibility to not only follow the law but also to adhere to ethical standards in our conduct. When we talk about ethics in a professional setting, it's helpful to distinguish between aspirational ethics and mandatory ethics. Aspirational ethics are the ideals we aim for, the highest standards of behavior and personal growth that guide us to be the best professionals we can be. They encourage us to continuously improve and develop, not just meet basic expectations. On the other hand, mandatory ethics are the rules we must follow. These are the non-negotiable standards designed to protect clients and the profession. Failing to adhere to mandatory ethics can result in serious consequences, such as sanctions or disciplinary actions. So while aspirational ethics inspire us to grow, mandatory ethics provide a foundation that ensures safety and accountability. When we apply the 6 moral principles to ethical dilemmas, each one plays a crucial role in guiding our decisions. First, autonomy reminds us to respect our clients' rights to make their own choices, recognizing their independence. Beneficence means we should always act in the best interests of our clients, aiming to do good. Non-maleficence is about avoiding harm, making sure our actions don't cause damage or suffering. Justice focuses on fairness, ensuring that every client receives equitable treatment without bias. Fidelity stresses the importance of maintaining trust by honoring our commitments and promises. Finally, veracity calls on us to be truthful and honest in all our communications, fostering transparency and integrity. Together, these principles help us navigate ethical challenges with care and responsibility. When faced with an ethical dilemma, the first step is to clearly identify the dilemma or the specific ethical issues involved. This helps focus your attention on what exactly needs to be addressed. Next, gather all relevant information that might impact your decision, making sure you have a complete understanding of the context. After that, consider the applicable ethical principles and professional codes that relate to the situation. These guidelines can help steer you in the right direction. Then, explore all possible actions you could take, thinking creatively about your options. Finally, evaluate the potential outcomes of each option, weighing the pros and cons to determine which course of action upholds ethical standards most effectively. This structured approach ensures you handle dilemmas thoughtfully and responsibly. When we talk about assessing our attitudes and beliefs regarding professional ethics, the first thing to focus on is self-reflection. It's important to take a close look at your own values, biases, and attitudes because these deeply influence how you make ethical decisions in your work. Next, we need to acknowledge the role that our cultural, societal, and religious backgrounds play in shaping our professional practice. These influences can be powerful and affect how we interpret and apply ethical principles. Another crucial point is committing to ongoing ethical development. Ethics isn't a one-time lesson, it requires continuous learning, supervision, and growth to stay aligned with professional standards. Finally, we must recognize and embrace our responsibility to uphold these ethical standards consistently. This commitment not only protects the clients we serve but also preserves the integrity and professionalism of our field. On this slide, we see several common themes that appear across professional ethics codes. First, client welfare and professional competence are paramount. This means putting the client's well-being first, working within the limits of our expertise, and recognizing how essential self-care is to maintain that competence over time. Next, ethical practice and boundaries are critical. We must avoid causing harm or exploiting those we serve, keep professional boundaries clear, and ensure everything we do fits within both ethical guidelines and legal requirements. Finally, respect, privacy, and non-discrimination play a central role. This involves respecting cultural diversity, protecting client confidentiality, and providing services without bias or discrimination. We also strive to uphold the highest ethical standards while carefully separating our personal beliefs from our professional responsibilities. These themes form the foundation for trustworthy and effective professional practice. When we look at codes of ethics, it's important to understand their limitations. First, these codes provide broad guidelines rather than detailed instructions for every possible ethical dilemma we might face. Because of this, they can't cover every situation in depth. Additionally, codes of ethics can vary significantly from one professional organization to another, and even within the same field, interpretations of these codes can differ. This means that relying solely on the written code isn't enough. Personal judgment plays a crucial role. Ethics codes aren't a substitute for our own reasoning and ethical decision-making. Another point to consider is that these codes can lag behind when it comes to new or emerging challenges in the profession, so they're not always up to date. That's why it's essential to approach them with critical thinking and a strong awareness of the specific context we're dealing with. In other words, codes of ethics are a foundation, but applying them wisely requires active thought and reflection. Codes of ethics serve three main purposes that are crucial to maintaining integrity in any profession. First, they protect clients by promoting ethical practices designed to ensure their welfare and safety. This means that clients can trust that their well-being is a top priority. Second, these codes establish a professional framework. This framework guides practitioners by setting clear standards for conduct and decision-making, helping maintain consistency and professionalism in their work. Lastly, codes of ethics assist practitioners when they face ethical dilemmas. By providing consistent and responsible guidance, they help professionals navigate complex situations with confidence and integrity. Together, These objectives help build trust, accountability, and ethical behavior throughout the profession. When we talk about law and ethics in mental health practice, it's important to understand how they differ and interact. The law sets the enforced minimum standards that everyone must follow. These are the rules backed by legal authority, and breaking them can lead to serious consequences. Ethics, on the other hand, go beyond these minimums. They represent moral imperatives that guide us toward higher professional ideals. Ethical standards often require us to do more than the law demands, focusing on protecting our clients and maintaining professional integrity. For responsible practice, we have to comply with both legal requirements and ethical principles, ensuring we meet the baseline standards while striving for the best care possible. When we talk about ethics in a professional setting, it's important to distinguish between aspirational and mandatory ethics. Aspirational ethics represent the highest standards we strive for. They inspire us to grow personally and professionally by aiming to do what's right beyond just the minimum requirements. On the other hand, mandatory ethics are the basic, enforceable rules designed to protect others from harm and guarantee a minimum level of ethical conduct. Recognizing both types helps us maintain a well-rounded and thorough commitment to ethical practice, ensuring we not only follow the rules but also pursue excellence in our work. When applying 6 core moral principles in ethical practice, we begin with autonomy, which is all about empowering clients to make their own informed decisions, respecting their independence and choices. Next is beneficence, where our focus is on actively promoting the well-being of those we serve, aiming to do good through our actions. Non-maleficence reminds us of the crucial obligation to avoid causing harm, ensuring our interventions do not negatively impact clients. Justice emphasizes fairness and equity, meaning that we treat every client with impartiality and ensure equal access to resources and opportunities. Fidelity is about building and maintaining trust, demonstrating commitment and reliability in our professional relationships. Lastly, veracity calls for honesty and openness, requiring us to be truthful and transparent in all our communications. Together, these principles guide us to practice ethically and responsibly. When faced with an ethical dilemma, the first step is to clearly define the conflict. Understanding exactly what the issue is helps us focus our attention. Next, it's important to gather all relevant information that could affect the decision. Having the full picture is crucial. Then, we consult the appropriate ethical codes and principles related to the situation. These guidelines offer a solid foundation for our decision-making. After that, we generate a range of possible actions and carefully consider the potential consequences of each option. Finally, we choose the best ethical course of action, put it into practice, and afterward review the outcome. This review helps us learn and improve our approach for future decisions. When we talk about reflective assessment on ethics and professionalism, the first step is to regularly examine your own personal values and biases. It's important to understand how these can influence your decisions and behavior in practice. Next, consider the cultural and societal influences around you. These play a big role in shaping what we see as ethical or appropriate, so recognizing them helps broaden our perspective. Equally important is the commitment to continuous ethical growth. Ethics isn't something we learn once and forget, but a lifelong process of education and reflection. Finally, we must always acknowledge our professional responsibility to consistently uphold ethical standards. This commitment not only protects the people we serve but also strengthens the integrity of our profession. When we talk about ethical decision-making in professional settings, it's important to first understand the various roles involved: therapists, counselors, social workers, clinicians, and others who provide care and support. Each of these professionals operates within a framework of ethical practice that is grounded in several key concepts. At the foundation, we have values, which are the core beliefs that shape our attitudes and behaviors. These values often inform our sense of morality, which generally comes from cultural or religious norms that help define what is considered right or wrong. Ethics, however, go a step further. They represent the aspirational standards set by our professions. These ethical guidelines help direct our conduct, but they can sometimes be open to interpretation depending on the situation. It's also crucial to recognize that ethics are influenced by broader community standards and the law, which help establish what is reasonable and acceptable behavior in a professional context. There's an important distinction to keep in mind: professionalism and ethics are related but not identical. Not every unprofessional action is necessarily unethical. For instance, engaging in sexual intimacy between a counselor and client is a clear violation. It's unethical, unprofessional, immoral, and also illegal. This example highlights why a clear understanding of these terms is vital in maintaining integrity and trust in professional practice. When making ethical decisions, it's important to pause and reflect on a few key questions. First, I ask myself which personal values are influencing my choices and why. Understanding this helps me see how my values shape the way I interact with clients. Then, I consider whether my personal values should be part of my professional work. This leads me to think about how to recognize and manage any conflicts that might arise between my own values and the broader professional ethics I'm expected to uphold. Equally important is considering the values my clients hold. Acknowledging and respecting these helps me provide better, more ethical care. Taking the time to reflect thoughtfully on these questions enhances my ethical awareness and ultimately leads to better outcomes for the people I serve. When it comes to ethics, actively involving clients in discussions is crucial. This not only empowers them but also leads to better outcomes, as their perspectives are considered throughout the process. Ethical decision-making itself is not something done in isolation. It requires deep reflection, consulting with colleagues to gain different viewpoints, and keeping detailed documentation to ensure accountability. Emotions play a significant role, too. They can influence how we interpret ethical challenges and the choices we make. That's why maintaining open communication is essential. Talking honestly about our beliefs, values, feelings, and any dilemmas with supervisors or peers creates a supportive environment that strengthens our ethical practice. Understanding ethical decision-making models is crucial because they provide a structured way to approach complex situations. It's important to familiarize yourself with at least one of these models to help guide your practice effectively. For example, the feminist model emphasizes involving clients directly and promoting equality in power dynamics, which helps ensure their voices are truly heard. Then there's the social constructionist model, which sees decision-making as a process shaped by social interactions, highlighting how context and relationships influence outcomes. Multicultural and transcultural models bring in the essential element of cultural values and perspectives, reminding us that culture deeply affects ethical decisions. Finally, adapting any of these models to fit the specific context not only enhances ethical analysis but also supports care that is truly centered on the client's needs. This flexibility is key to responding thoughtfully and respectfully in diverse situations. When we talk about continuous professional development, the first thing to understand is the importance of recognizing the need for ongoing learning. In the helping professions, ethics demand that we constantly improve our skills and knowledge to stay effective and uphold high standards. It's not something we do once and forget, it's an ongoing process. Next, staying current with evolving knowledge is crucial. Research, laws, and ethical guidelines are always changing, and we have to keep up with these developments to ensure our practice remains relevant and responsible. Engaging in reflective practice and supervision plays a big role in this growth. By regularly reflecting on our work and seeking supervision, we can critically evaluate ourselves, identify areas for improvement, and foster continuous professional growth. Another key point is developing cultural competence. This means being able to understand and respect diverse backgrounds and adapting our services to meet the unique needs of each client. Cultural competence is essential for delivering ethical and effective support. Finally, committing to continuous growth ties all these elements together. When we dedicate ourselves to ongoing development, we not only enhance our professionalism but also strengthen our ability to make ethical decisions throughout our career. This commitment is what sustains us as responsible and effective practitioners. When we talk about cultural competence in ethical practice, the first key point is recognizing just how important culture is in ethical decision-making. Culture shapes our values, beliefs, and behaviors, so understanding this is fundamental for anyone working in counseling or helping professions. Next, it's essential to understand and respect the diverse cultural backgrounds and values of clients. Without this respect, it's impossible to provide care that truly meets their needs in a meaningful and effective way. We also need to be mindful of power imbalances and acknowledge privilege. This awareness helps us create relationships that are more equitable, where clients feel safe and empowered rather than marginalized. Because cultures vary so widely, ethical approaches can't be one-size-fits-all. Instead, we must adapt our methods to be culturally sensitive and responsive, ensuring we honor each client's unique experience. Finally, promoting equity and inclusivity isn't just about fairness, it's about making sure every client feels respected and supported, which leads to better outcomes and a more just practice overall. In this chapter, we turn our attention to the counselor as a person, focusing on the counselor's identity both personally and professionally. We'll explore how who we are, our values, our self-awareness, and our life experiences shapes the way we behave ethically and professionally in our work. Developing a deep understanding of ourselves is essential because it directly impacts our ability to build genuine, empathetic connections with those we counsel. By being mindful of these personal influences, counselors can uphold their integrity and maintain the highest standards of professionalism throughout their practice. In Chapter 2, we focus on the critical themes of counselor self-awareness and well-being. First, self-awareness and self-care are the foundation for sustaining ethical and effective counseling practice. Without these, it's difficult for counselors to maintain the quality and integrity of their work. Next, managing stress and burnout is essential. Counselors face emotional demands that can lead to fatigue, so developing strategies to protect their well-being helps preserve their ability to serve clients effectively. Personal values and life experiences also play a significant role by shaping how counselors approach their work and make decisions. Building resilience and emotional intelligence is another key aspect, as these qualities enable counselors to adapt to challenges and respond thoughtfully to client needs. Finally, maintaining a healthy work-life balance is crucial for promoting long-term effectiveness while upholding ethical commitments in the profession. Together, these themes highlight the importance of caring for oneself to serve others well. To wrap up, codes of ethics are essential because they guide how we behave professionally and help protect our clients' well-being. Ethical decision-making goes beyond simply following rules. It's a thoughtful process that includes reflecting carefully, seeking advice, and applying core moral principles. It's also crucial to distinguish between legal requirements and ethical obligations, as this understanding ensures responsible practice. Our key ethical responsibilities include maintaining professionalism, safeguarding confidentiality, and demonstrating cultural competence. Finally, ongoing self-awareness and professional development are vital to consistently uphold these high ethical standards. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all the best moving forward.